Good morning, everyone that's watching, especially Mr. Nunu, the one that gave us this assignment. Thank you. So today we're going to discuss about a disease called the measles disease.
Okay, so taking over. Measles is a highly contagious and serious disease in which references can be found as far back as the 7th century. It is caused by the rubella virus from Paramyxoviridae family. More than 140,000 people died from this disease in 2018, and mostly are children under the age of 5. It is one of the world's most contagious diseases. A susceptible person that is exposed to the virus has a chance of 90% of becoming infected, and the infected person can spread the virus to 9 until 18 individuals.
So the type of pathogen is actually the virus from the genus Morbillivirus and the family Paramyxoviridae. So the pathogen consists of proteins, RNA, and more protein for reproduction. However, it can't reproduce by itself. Measles need to assemble themselves by taking control of the host cell. Once the virus enters the mucosa, the virus will start to infect the epithelial cell in the trachea or the bronchi. The virus uses its hemagglutinin or H protein to bind to the receptor of the host. H protein can bind to all nucleated cell or SLAM, which is a signaling lymphocyte activation molecule, which can be found in or T cell, and antigen presenting cell or Nectin-4, which is a cellular adhesion molecule. Once it's bound, the F protein or fusion protein helps the virus fuse with the membrane and enter the host cell.
So when it enters our body, this virus has single-stranded negative sense mRNA strand. It needs to be transcribed by the RNA polymerase to be transformed into positive sense mRNA. After that, it is ready to be translated into viral protein, and then it's wrapped by the cell's lipid envelope, and then yeah, um, it it exits the cell as a newly made virus. In several days, the virus spreads through local tissue and gets picked up by the dendritic cell and the alveolar macrophages from the lung tissue to the lymph node, and then to the blood, which then can infect more lung tissues and organs such as the brain and intestine.
So the stages of the disease. So the incubation period lasts for 10 to 14 days where the virus enters the body and starts to spread and reproduce. Once the symptoms started, it enters prodromal period that lasts for 3 days. During this stage, the body temperature rises really high and symptoms such as coughing, conjunctivitis, which is the inflammation and redness of the white part of the eyes, and coryza, which is a swelling of the mucous membrane in the nose, so the nose will feel stuffy. Afterwards, the ananthem will start to appear, which is the rash on the mucous membrane. Next. The next phase is called the exanthem phase, where red blotchy papular rashes spread on the cephalocaudal progression, start from the head and then spread to the rest of the body. So this stage lasts about 4 days before the healing stage will last for 10 to 14 days. The symptoms is persistent coughing. So the disease is highly contagious at the end of the incubation stage until the end of exanthem stage. After recovery, the person will be immune to the measles for life.
Since the virus attacks the brain, intestine, and lungs, it may lead to several complications such as pneumonia, diarrhea, encephalitis, which can cause death. And measles suppresses the immune system up to 6 weeks, and this can lead to bacterial superinfections such as otitis media and bacterial pneumonia. This complication affects infants and children the most. That's why during the measles outbreak, the infant mortality rate was the highest among other age range. Measles can cause complications for infants under 2 years old, such as subacute sclerosing panencephalitis, and which will occur from 7 up to 10 years after, and probably happens due to abnormal immune response and mutation of the measles virus. This complication leads to brain inflammation, and the symptoms can be mood changes initially, and afterward, seizures, and eventually death.
So, what if the person is immunocompromised? So, people that are immunocompromised, for example, people that are infected with the HIV/AIDS disease, when they get infected by the measles, their immune-mediated responses are being impaired. This means that they won't develop some measles symptoms such as ananthem and exanthem. However, they tend to get pneumonia and encephalitis, which can cause death.
Uh, okay, suffer history. So, early references to measles was described by Muhammad ibn Zakaria Arazi, or Razes, which is a Persian philosopher and physician, as a disease that is more dreaded than smallpox. In the 10th century, in year 1657, the disease appeared in Boston, recorded in a diary by John Hall, in which only few deaths occur, so it's not that obvious. And in year 1757, Francis Home, a Scottish physician, demonstrated that measles was caused by an infectious agent present in the blood of patient. And before the availability of the vaccine, measles affected almost all the population at some point in their life. The history of measles changed in year 1963, with the advent of measles vaccine. The number of cases dropped by 99%.
So, the transmission of the disease. We have stated a couple of times that measles is a highly contagious virus that lives in the nose, throat, mucus of an infected person. It can spread to others through coughing and sneezing through the droplets. Also, measles virus can live up to 2 hours in an airspace where the infected person coughs or sneezes. If the people breath the contaminated air or touch the infected surface and then touch their eyes, nose, mouth, or basically your face, they can become infected. Measles is so contagious that if one person has it, up to 90% of the people close to that person who are not immune will also become infected. Infected people can spread measles to others from 4 days before through 4 days after the rash appeared.
Um, Onto the symptoms. In early infection, the symptoms includes fever, tiredness, cough, sore throat, runny nose, sore eyes, and photophobia, which is sensitivity to light, and it usually worsens over 3 to 5 days. Then a reddish-brown rash begins to appear, firstly on the head, and over the next day spreads down to the entire body. The rash lasts for up to 10 days. And the illness itself lasts for about 10 days. Complications from the disease are fairly common, and people most at risk are patients with a weak immune system and very young children and adults over the age of 20. Middle ear infection in 7% of cases, or bacterial pneumonia, lung infection or inflammation in 6% of cases. In as many as 1 in every 1,000 cases, brain infection occurs, and sympathy of fluids and paracetamol for the fever phlitis, often resulting in death or permanent brain damage. Sometimes brain damage may not appear until many years later. Complications from the disease are fairly common, and people most at risk are patients with weak immune system and, yeah, very young children and adults over 20 years old.
So the treatment, there's no actually specific treatment for the measles until now, but complication may require antibiotics treatment. Treatment for the symptoms includes aspirin should not be given to children under 12 years of age unless specifically recommended by a doctor. People who have already had measles are normally immune and they are unlikely to get it again. People who are not immune should consider the measles vaccine, which is can be prevented by the MMR vaccine that protects against not only measles but also mumps and rubella. It is recommended that the children get 2 doses of the MMR vaccine, starting with the first dose at the 12 through 15 months of age and the second dose at 4 through 6 years of age. 2 doses of the MMR vaccine are about 97% effective to preventing measles, but 1 dose is only about 93% effective. Children may also get the MMRV vaccine, which also protects against varicella, which is chickenpox, but this vaccine is only licensed for use in children who are 12 months through 12 years of age. Side effects to vaccination are typically mild and disappear in a few days. They can include things like fever and mouth rash. In rare cases, the vaccine has been linked to low platelet count or seizures. Most children and adults who receive a measles vaccine don't actually experience side effects, but some believe that the measles vaccine can cause autism in children. As a result, an intense amount of study has been devoted to this topic over many years, and this research has found that there is no link between vaccine and autism.
Okay, so rubella is referred as rubella is often referred as German measles. However, measles and rubella is actually caused by two different viruses. So rubella is not equal to rubella. And even though they are caused by two different viruses, they are somewhat similar. Both can be spread through air from coughing and sneezing. Both causes fever and distinctive rash, and both only occur in human. Yup, it's your turn.
So, professional data from the WHO indicates that during 2019, there were more measles cases reported worldwide than in any year since 2006. More than 500,000 confirmed cases of measles were reported from more than 180 countries. Many from large, Many of them are from large measles outbreaks. Case numbers in 2019 outnumber the 353,236 confirmed measles cases reported in 2018 or the previous year. Measles cases numbers are underreported, so the numbers of confirmed cases may not reflect the full burden of the measles cases in a country. According to the latest data available in 2018, it is estimated that more than 140,000 individuals died of the measles disease. In response to the measles outbreaks, outbreak response measures have been implemented for outbreaks across the globe in 2019. All WHO regions are experiencing large, often extended outbreaks of the disease where multiple countries have declared outbreaks. The risk of measles virus transmission spreading to affect multiple communities within a country or across international borders is especially very concerning. As long as measles is a threat anywhere, it is a threat everywhere. Next.
Alright, so here is the map that shows the reported number of cases occurred in each country that is recorded from August of 2018 to January of 2019 from the World Health Organization. It shows the country with higher number of cases with a darker red color. See this one's
And there are
Indonesia,
top 10 countries with the most cases.
Madagascar, Ukraine, India, Brazil, Philippines, Venezuela, Thailand, Pakistan, Yemen, and Israel. Okay, on to the next one. So here are some factors that may affect the spread of measles disease that we would like to discuss.
So the first factor is the anti-vax movement or the anti-vaccine movement. The movement started in 1763 in France. The early reason for such movement to started is because people are concerned about the safety and sanitation of the early method of vaccine, which is reasonable, and they distrust in medicine and doctors. Uh, in 2007, a celebrity called Jenny McCarthy blamed vaccination when her son is diagnosed with autism. Since then, there are a widespread anti-vax movement all across America. In 2007, there are less than 100 cases reported all around the US, and it is consistent with the years prior. But in 2008, after the celebrity statement, the cases increased to 150, and over the year it keeps increasing, where in 2013 to 2015, the three measles outbreaks occur with 1,015 total cases, where the majority of the infected one were unvaccinated. Ah. And in Europe, there were about 5,000 cases of measles in 2016, 24,000 in 2017, and 84,000 in 2018. And some believe such a high number is caused by the anti-vax movement.
Alright, here are some homeopathic. So what is homeopathic? Homeopathic medicine is for curing or treating the measles disease is available. And here are some of them and their use. So the first one is aconitum for the symptoms that come on suddenly, including fever, conjunctivitis, dry cough, and restlessness. It's best used very early in the course of the disease. and the second one is apis mellifica for individuals with swollen lips and eyes and rash that is not fully developed. Warmth increases itchiness as well as swelling. And the third one is belladonna. And it can be used either during early stage of measles or after the rash has erupted. It is useful for those who have difficulty sleeping and symptoms that include fever, headache, and drowsiness. And the fourth one is bryonia for individuals with a delayed rash who have a dry, painful cough, headaches, and muscle pain that worsen with movements and warmth. This remedy is most appropriate for people with a rash primarily on the chest, a dry mouth, and desire for cold drinks. And next one is euphrasia for nasal discharge, red eyes, and tears associated with measles. This remedy is most appropriate for people who have a strong sensitivity to light. And the next one is gelsemium. Gelsemium for the early stages of measles, when there is a slow onset of fever and chillness, cough, headache, weakness, and a watery nasal discharge that burns the upper lip. This remedy is most appropriate for people who are aphatic, apathetic and have little or no thirst. And the next one is pulsatilla. Pulsatilla can be used as at any stage of the measles, but often used after fever has resolved. This remedy is most appropriate for people who may have thick, yellow nasal discharge, a dry cough at night, and productive cough in the daytime, and mild ear pain. And then symptoms are frequently mild. And the last one is sulfur. For measles in which sulfur for measles in which the skin has a purplish appearance. The individual for whom this remedy is appropriate may have red mucous membranes with a cough and diarrhea that is worse in mornings. Okay, next.
So the next factors is climate change or just climate in general. So the result of a study published in February 2020 done in Lanzhou, China, provide evidence that daily measles cases were associated with both air pollution and meteorological factors. The result shows that the daily measles cases were increasing on days with mild temperature, high wind speed, low relative humidity, and air pressure. It also showed that the effect varied by seasons. And also there's another study done by Guangzhou Center of Disease Control and Prevention and the Southern Medical University of Guangzhou shows the result that indicates that there were nonlinear effects of the meteorological variables on the incidence of measles, except for air pressure. In Guangzhou, the average of monthly sunshine hours had a negative relationship with the monthly incidence of measles below 5 hours and had a positive relationship upper 5 hours. Whereas, whereas daily sunshine hours generally had a positive relationship with the daily incidence of measles. The virulence and survival of the measles virus in air are mainly influenced by temperature and relatively humidity. Measles virus is temperature sensitive. High temperature has influence on the survival of measles virus, and measles virus might survive a little better at low temperature, while the activity of measles virus might decrease. The study also shows that measles virus survival is remarkably dependent on relative humidity, and virus survives well at low relative humidity. Therefore, with an increase in relative humidity, the incidence of measles decreases.
Next. Migration.
Oh yeah. Next one is migration. So migration also affects the spread of the disease. Migration is the movement of people from one place to another, and this way an infected person may spread the disease to other in the process of migrating. So, for example, in the year 2000, the USA achieved a historic public health goal, which is the elimination of measles. That is defined by the absence of sustained transmission of the virus for more than 12 months. Unfortunately, it doesn't last long, and localized measles outbreaks have recently been triggered by travel-related introduction of the virus by infected persons, with subsequent spread through under-vaccinated population. 555 cases of measles in 20 states out of 50 states in the USA had already been confirmed from the January the 1st through April the 11th in 2019. The increase in measles cases in the USA also happens in other countries around the world. where several other countries that had eliminated measles are now seeing resurgence, and some even experience a measles outbreak. Measles is a highly contagious disease, and exposed people who are not immune have up to 90% chance of contracting the disease themselves. And each person with the disease may go and infect 9 to 18 other people in a susceptible population. One person that has the disease can cause resurgence in a once measles-free area or even country when they are migrating permanently or even temporarily, or you can say traveling. Especially to the fact that measles can be a latent virus, which is a pathogen virus that has the ability to lie dormant within a cell, therefore showing no symptoms. People can spread the disease without even knowing that they spread the disease. Next.
Alright, so how does the ultraviolet radiation affect measles? So the UV-induced immunosuppression could influence patterns of infectious disease and may also influence the occurrence and progression of various autoimmune diseases. There has been concern that increased exposure to UVR due to stratospheric ozone depletion could hamper the effectiveness of vaccines, particularly BCG, measles, and hepatitis. BCG vaccine efficacy has a latitudinal gradient with reduced efficacy at low latitudes. Okay.
So here are the sources. Next, there's a lot.
Yep.
These are the sources where we get our information and data that we use in this presentation. So
So yeah, that's all from us. Any question? Well, I hope not. And thank you for listening to our presentation. Hopefully, it is clear enough and it helps you to understand the disease more.
and also sorry if there's any mistakes.
Yes.
Amateurs.